We are back here on the Conquer Athlete podcast with the most beautiful co-host to the left of the Appalachian Mountains, Mr. Ryan Bucciantini.
Did you have to Google that?
I think I've used the Appalachian Mountains a couple times before, so I knew where it was located. So I felt like I was safe by utilizing that. You know, I couldn't say like the Mississippi River or anything like that because I might have messed that one up.
Yeah,
or the Rocky Mountains. I would have been all over the place. But we are back here on the Conquer Athlete podcast. And on this show, we're going to talk about keeping athletes engaged through, we'll say boring stuff, because I think more people can relate to that. But we'll say the foundational work, the core work to be great. We're going to start this with a question to Coach Ryan. However, as always, check out our partners, Coach RX podcast channel platform, where you can find lots of amazing other podcasts, lots of amazing other coaches doing their thing, talking about their specialties, talking about things that excite them with inside the fitness world. You hear some great conversations. It's all free. If it's not free, then I apologize.
Take that up with Candace.
But hey, information shouldn't be free. Unfortunately, everyone thinks things are free now. That could be another podcast. How everybody has a handout and wants stuff for free,
and then does nothing with it.
Yeah, but we'll save that for another day. I guess let's get into it. I don't know. We don't have any funny stories to share to break it up before we dive into information.
Man, any funny stories? I survived my mother-in-law. I feel like that's.
Does she listen to the show?
I'm confident she is not a frequent listener of the Conquer Athlete podcast, so I'm okay.
I would love
it
if she is.
Fuck. Maybe. She got a lot of time on her hands. But either way, I survived 4 straight weeks of guests, so I'm feeling good.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys had a lot of guests in there.
Bro, a lot of guests, and then we're taking off for the games. So
CrossFit Games are coming up.
Yeah.
Big topic in the CrossFit space. I say it like I'm not in the CrossFit space. That might be the dumbest sentence I've ever said in my life right there. Talk about it like from the outsider looking in. You know, I think they're going to be exciting. I think they're going to be good. What do you think?
I hope they're good. I mean, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be. I like the new format. I like that it's a little condensed. I have high hopes for it. I just think this is one of those sports that's going to continue to, I want to say thrive. Obviously, there's been some speed bumps. I think it's just going to keep being around. I think it's going to keep being exciting. I think there's a lot of cool new faces coming up with like more voices. Like these teens that are starting to come up, like they're starting to look super impressive. I think it's going to be fun. I'm super excited to see Tudor. I'm super excited to see old man Tyler compete with the young bucks.
Tyler's getting back after. You like Albany though? For real?
Albany's cool. Whatever.
How?
I mean, whatever. It's not like San Diego, but I don't know. There's a lot of history.
What history is in Albany?
You want me to go into a fucking history lesson, or you want to talk about the podcast topic?
I don't think you know the history of Albany.
I mean, I don't know the history of Albany. I just know there's a bunch of old ass buildings, and when you drive around, it's like a cool place to sightsee.
I remember being at Albany for the regionals semis a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not shitting on Albany, guys, because it's like, if they had the regionals in Milford, Connecticut, I'd be saying the same thing. But it's like, there's nothing to do. It was like, it's like there's some good spots, some not so good spots. I mean, you have to be mindful of where you are at certain points, right? Just like any other city. Well, it's like New Haven. It's New Haven's tricky like that.
It's nothing like New Haven.
New Haven, Connecticut is tricky, right? Because you look at New Haven, you got one of the most prestigious colleges in the world there, right? You got Yale. You have a bunch of other colleges in the area. You have high functioning, you have like this awesome city, but then you also top 10 highest crime rate per capita in America. So
Here's the story.
You gotta be careful the stories.
Here's the story we talk about is when Ryan flies in for the Conquer camp and Jay doesn't tell Ryan anything about New Haven and can't stay at an Airbnb because just surrounded by gangsters.
I picked you up and I was like, bro, you can't stay here.
Yeah.
You were like, what do you mean? I'm like, New Haven has one of the highest crime rates per capita in America, and you might be in the middle of it right now.
Yeah. No warning. I mean, you were gracious enough to let me stay at your house, but yeah, the things you don't know.
Yeah, I was like, it's interesting. Anyways, okay, so let's get into this topic, right? So the topic of the Conquer Athlete podcast, like I said, is keeping athletes engaged when they're in this phase of trying to fix stuff, doing the monotonous work, do the things that don't seem exciting to them. And Ryan, you went through a big phase with this for Tyler, which obviously paid off like we always as coaches will say this is going to pay off, but Tyler's proof that it paid off. It got him from where he was, and he's been second year going to the games on the team, and of which his team is extremely successful. Last year they finished top 10, I want to say. This year they have potential to be top 5. I think they
they won Syndicate Crown this year.
Yeah, I think they have potential to fight for the podium, depending on how things go out there. So how'd you do it? How'd you keep him through it? Because I know he wasn't like jumping at the bits for it.
No, I mean, he honestly, this is a better question for him when he's done with the games and we have him on the podcast. But I don't think he understood what he was getting into when he finally came to individual design. Because when I got him, he was 100 miles an hour, wanted to go as hard as he possibly could. And everything was like biggest sets possible, no slowing down, 3, 2, 1, go as hard as you can, and just try to survive and hang on. And like that lasted for about 48 hours before I kind of like pulled him back. So he and I had a conversation. He had some stuff going on with his shoulder, like just based on his builds and like kind of what I saw, it was pretty obvious. He needed to work on the endurance side. Like he squats a house, he pulls the house. Like he's just, from a physiological standpoint, how he's built, it's pretty obvious what he needed. So we just had a big conversation around like, listen, dude, this is what I think you actually need to be successful in the sport at the level that you want to be successful. And that was really about slowing down, focusing on the efficiency of things, and fixing the structural issues. Like he was definitely the athlete where he'd be going good, like he'd be riding this wave and things would be feeling really good. And then something would happen, like his shoulder would tweak and then it would take him out. And he was, I don't want to say he's an emotional dude because he'll be like, what the fuck? Why are you saying I'm such an emotional train wreck? But I mean, he's an emotional dude, like those little tweaks would really throw him off his game. And like, I found myself having a lot of conversations with him about that stuff. And for him, it was more explaining what I thought his journey was going to look like. And when I kind of gave him this A to B sort of journey and, what this year really looks like and how this year ultimately builds on following years, I think that was a big buy-in moment for him where he was just like, all right, this year is gonna, like suck isn't the right word, but when all you see is the sexy stuff, it's easy to say this is going to be a sucky year because you're literally not doing any of that. Like you're doing quite the opposite of that. But when you can start to paint the picture and, for those of you that are familiar with terms like phase potentiation and things like that, and you can start relating that stuff back in with context to your athletes, it's so much easier for them to buy in. And then as you start to progress through the phases and they start to kind of reap the rewards of those early rebuild, periods of training, and they see the improvement, I feel like that just snowballs. It just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And that's one thing I'll really say about Tyler is he bought in on the early days and he sucked it up. And once he started to reap the benefit of all of that, the consistency and the buy-in just got better and better and better. And he just honestly stopped asking questions, which when I say that, I'm not saying that athletes shouldn't blindly follow a program or ask questions, but it just seemed like he was just like, okay, there's a rhyme or reason behind this. And he started connecting the breadcrumbs of how this low intensity work or the structural work really built on the fast, sexy stuff. And like this year's the prime example. This is the fittest he is hands down ever been. Like he is at his peak. And dude,
I think he's at his sexiest peak ever of his life too.
I mean, Tyler, you look good right now.
Right?
Callie will gouge my eyes out. For those of you that don't know Callie Cook, she's the real coach in this entire operation and a complete savage. Yeah, like, dude, we've been so focused on hammer and weaknesses. He's done so little snatching, so little squatting. And, as like the events start coming out, we start going through our build phase. PR has snatched twice in the last month, tripled his I want to say tripled or like very close to his 1RM back squat. So dude is just dialed right now, but I can't express the amount of like hip rotations and like glute things we did to get him all dialed.
You know, it's the art of seeing the forest through the trees, which a lot of athletes can't do. And we see this a lot where people say they're willing to do whatever it takes. They say they want to do this and that. And it's a lot harder to do that now because of everything that's thrown in your face of what everybody else is doing. You know, you open up your phone and you're following other athletes and your competitors and you see what they're doing. You're like, man, I'm over here doing seeing like hip thrusts and Turkish get-ups, right? And they're doing thrusters and snatches and muscle-ups and combinations. I'm going to be far behind them. And in my opinion, and throughout my 20 years in this industry, athletes have a hard time being able to see the forest of the trees and understand why they're doing what they're doing to get them to where they need to be, of being able to take that one step back, to take 2 steps forward. And it's a hard thing to do, and I think it's a harder thing to do now. My basketball coach said that to me. I was at 5-star basketball camp, which is, I don't know if it still is, but when I was growing up, it was probably one of the most prestigious basketball camps to go to. Jordan, everybody goes through there. And I was there, and a coach said that. He was like, you have to be willing to take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward and slow down to develop your skill set and not just play all the time. And then that's going to progress you further down the road. And I think the same thing lies in the sport of CrossFit. Individuals have to be able to do that depending on where they are and what they're doing. And those that are able to have someone that's able to put them through the right stuff in the right phases to drive the right adaptation, and then the athletes that are willing to continually to do the work and stay consistent and focused are the ones that, in my opinion, always come out at the end on a bigger, better side than where they entered. But Ryan, I know Tyler probably had a little bit of pushback, right? Every athlete does at some point. Was there something that you had to say to him or do with him to get it to stick?
Yeah. Is the best way to answer is the story I kind of told you. So when he approached me with his concerns, which are like very valid concerns for athletes, right? Like if you're, I don't want to say just the athlete, but like if you don't understand the physiological side of things, or like don't have a great grasp on training or anything like that, you're like, this looks nothing like what the sport looks like. So why are we doing these things? And like, it's a totally valid question. You should ask that. I don't remember telling him this, but he reminded me that I said this to him, was that winning isn't boring. And I think when, at least the way he took it, is like, yeah, like training should be the development of your weaknesses. Like you want to maintain your strengths, develop your weaknesses to become the most like well-rounded athlete you possibly can. And that unfortunately can feel boring at times. It's the time sitting in the gym when nobody's in the gym, sitting on a bike when everybody's doing fast, sexy stuff, doing prehab stuff when everyone's, doing metcons and shit like that. And the conversation I apparently had with him was just like, dude, you do the sexy stuff. So when the opportunity comes to win something of meaning, you'll have put in the work that's going to allow you to stand on top of the podium. And for him, it seems like that was the thing that he always, whether he wrote it down or whatever, was the thing that he really kind of reflected on and used that as kind of like a training, call it North Star or whatever, when he was just doing the most mundane shit ever. Which, like, I don't even like using the word mundane because I don't think it gives it doesn't give the work the credit it deserves, but I think that's how most athletes would.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, if we look at it like normal dudes, not coaches, it is mundane.
Sure.
Right, it is. Like we look at it like, yeah, it's the foundation that's going to create the structure to elevate your ceiling, but it is fucking mundane, right? It's like I talk to, but I do agree with you. I do think every athlete needs a North Star, no matter what it is, whether it's a saying, a quote, because I think it was Kobe Bryant was telling the story about his daughter, and they were talking about, like, training philosophies, and obviously with social media and all this stuff, you have these trainers I'm using basketball as just a side reference, but, having these basketball players do all this weird stuff that I've always been like, I don't see any carryover this has except for someone to look at it on the phone and be like, ooh, that looks super cool. We need to be doing this. Right? To me, it's like the coaches that have that have like the flashing lights that, ooh, look at this person's running and touching flashing lights. Like, okay, but he's fucking off balance every time he reaches. He's lunging and reaching. He has no center of balance. And for that, he's become slower and less adaptable to a sport because you're teaching him poor balance and movement principles because he's just trying to touch a light faster. That's zero care would have benefit to a sport, right? And I see that a lot in these trainers and coaches with things that they're putting up. And Kobe was telling a story how with his daughter, he would just hammer the basics with it. The foundational work for basketball, jab, step, crossover, shot fakes. And he's like, if you master the basics and you master the foundations, he goes, that's going to give you the limitless potential if you're able to continually put in the work. Right? And I think that is what people have to understand no matter what sport it is, whether it's basketball, baseball, CrossFit, World Fitness Project, High Rocks, tactical games, whatever individuals are trying to do, you have to understand what the foundational basics are for that. What is that quote unquote mundane stuff? And then you have to put in the time and effort to do that and fix your stuff and build that foundation so you can continually elevate the ceiling of your potentiation in the sport. And kudos to you and Tyler for being able to, kudos to Tyler for being able to see that, right, and do it. And then kudos for you to be able to lay it out properly for him. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you're saying there, and to even take it a step further, people have these aspirations of being able to accumulate huge amounts of volume. So they're like, well, if I just keep doing the thing, over time I'll accumulate that volume. But what they don't understand is a lot of that volume they're accumulating is usually under fatigue. It's usually inefficient because it's done under fatigue, right? So it's not held to the highest movement standard possible, which is going to lead to a decrease in resiliency, right? Mm-hmm. Resiliency and output. So when I was like thinking about this, or kind of like building my system around this, going back to what Kobe's talking about, is why you guys as athletes need to be spending more time doing your volume work, the absolute basics, and holding those to such a high standard. Like, dude, I still have Tyler doing hollow rocks, and like in his early seasons, we're just building massive amounts of volume in those foundational gymnastics positions, right? Like you build that volume, and then from there, your base or your like peak is going to be so much higher now that base is so much wider. But like, who wants to do hollow rocks?
I think building a strong foundational base has been one of the most bastardized aspects of training inside the CrossFit space, because individuals just, whether it was coaches or people, didn't get it, whether it's like that, to me was like the major training that was missing for a lot of athletes for a very long time. And I don't know, I don't want to give a blanket statement saying it's still bastardized, but
no, I think it still is.
But you look at Olympians training in gymnastics. I look at Dave Durante because he's the one I can speak about the most. Basic handstand positional work. I see him doing it all the time. Hollow rocks, arch rocks, alligator rolls, support holds. Always doing that. This is a dude that was at the Olympics. Uh-huh. You look, and whenever I talk to him about their training protocols and what they were doing, they hammered that stuff in practice. The Olympic team, right? University of Stanford, they hammer that stuff. And it's elite of elite. And then you take people inside our sport, and it's like such this rush to be able to get to a certain place, but not understanding what's needed to get there from a foundational strength perspective. Muscle-ups, oh, well, this is do more muscle-ups, do more tight. Well, no. If you can't hold a proper position through the swing when you get tired, we'll start building better resiliency and capacity to hold a better swing when you get tired, right? Not just doing it more. And I think that was one of the most bastardized aspects of mixed modal training, was building a good, strong base for gymnastics. That's a little tangent.
With that, no, it's a great tangent. How do you expect to sustain the sexy dynamic stuff if the foundational stuff break down quickly? Like, there's all you're doing with the dynamic work is you're just writing checks that your body's eventually gonna cash in on, and that cashing in comes down in decreased efficiency, and decreased efficiency is just more metabolic demand. It's more of a nutritional demand to support the work, and you wonder why you're fatiguing or burning out. Right? So you put in the reps on the basic shit, and then, you can hold those positions longer, you stay efficient longer, you use less energy, and now you're moving faster in your expression of the sport.
It's like the fastest way to bleed out your performance is to try to exaggerate your body's ability to sustain dynamic contractions when it's not able to. you know, and that's the fastest way to bleed out into performance in mixed motorsports.
I mean, you see it every time, you know, in competition, the athletes that it's not that they don't have a good understanding of your body, but you can see the athletes who have a really, really strong understanding of that mind body connection. And they know when they need to break. They know when the reps are just becoming inefficient enough where they're like, I need to break in context of whatever workout that they're doing, right? Like that number is going to be different in every modality, in every workout, but they've just put in the reps, they've put in the time, they understand what's happening inside of them, and they're like, nope, now is when I need to drop. And I really do believe that comes from building a huge base in the foundations.
Absolutely. So there's people listening, athletes listening, and they have a hard time with inside this phase, whether they're in it now. And, you know, in my opinion, if you're not going to the games, then you should be in something like this right now, right? But what do you say to them if they're having a hard time there?
I think there's a balance to it. It's worth a conversation. So from a coach's perspective, I don't think you can just hammer this for extended periods of time. Like, you do have to throw some softballs out there. Training shouldn't be dreary and just like, if you're having to drag the athlete out of bed or like constantly provide some form of motivation of why we're doing this, you're probably missing the ball and you've gone a little bit too far in the direction of base building. So I think there's that conversation to be had. And then if you're an athlete, like it sounds cliche, but you really have to focus on what your why is, and you have to give your end goal an audit and be like, okay, this is my goal. Whatever level it is for you as an athlete, you have to look at that, and you have to look at what the best have done to get to that, from a time commitment, from a financial commitment, from a training commitment, from like all of these different aspects. And if you're not looking at it from that regard, right, because that should realistically give you some semblance of a baseline of what the demand is, then you're missing the ball, right? And like when you understand that demand, it makes it easier to reverse engineer the requirements of the foundations. So a lot of it is reflection in nature.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, is it actually as much of a goal as you think it is? Like, do you really are you like willing to die is aggressive, but are you willing to singularly focus on this one goal and dedicate all your resources to that? And if you're not, maybe the goal realistically isn't the goal. Because at this level of the sport, everyone's all in. Like, if you're going, you're all in, and that you're really not doing anything outside of it.
Right. What do you tell the coaches who have this notion of wanting to build these phases for athletes, but don't quite know where to start?
Step outside of CrossFit. Step outside of the method and start learning from the people who have developed the elite in those specific modalities, right? Like, you talk about Dave, you know, like Dave's background is not CrossFit. Dave's background is gymnastics, and you have to learn from the people building athletes in those modalities. So the sooner you get outside of the sport, I think the more eye-opening training actually becomes, and the things that you don't think about. And then once you learn from those people, then it's up to you to seek out the ones who have built the bridge from specific modality to the sport, because there's nuance between those two things, right? Like, as you're building the bridge from foundation to expression of the sport, you have people like us who have been in the game for a while that can have that conversation of like, okay, this is what you took away from the foundation. This is what you need to think about from the expression of the sport. And that's how I would approach that.
I love it. All right, let's change it up a little bit, Rye. CrossFit Games. Give me your top 3 female, top 3 male.
God.
I got to pull up the list right here, because I don't know the whole list.
Is Tia confirmed?
I'm going to tell you right.
I'm pretty sure she's confirmed. I saw Shane post something, and I know Dave gave her like a date she had to accept.
Tia?
All right, so it's Tia, and then whatever. It doesn't even matter. Like, she's not going to lose her last one. She's going to go out flying high and she's the greatest of all time. Like, it's just the way it is. On the guy's side, Dude, I mean, Tudor, I think Tudor's going to come out of left field. No one's going to see him coming. He's the quiet, silent professional. I think you're going to see Tudor, Dallin, and maybe Roman.
Okay. Girls, I'm going to go Tia. I agree with you on that one. I'm going to go Abigail Dommett.
Really?
Yeah, I think she is built for that. I like her build. I like her abilities.
Interesting.
And then I'm going to go, a second, tough one, my third. I'm going to go Ariel Lowen again. I think it's going to be hard, but.
I want to say she was just, I think it was her. I saw some like Red Bull. It was like very CrossFit, but it was like rodeo style.
Mm.
And they had like a bunch of like rodeo implements. Like they had to like pull a sled from a saddle. And I want to say it was her doing that. I don't know. She was doing some cool stuff. I think it was her.
For guys, I'm going to go Jeff Adler.
No, come on.
I'm going to go, I think Tudor's going to take third. I think he's going to come out of nowhere to take third. It's going to be awesome. And I'll go Ricky Gerard.
Is Ricky still underdog? That's what I thought. I thought I saw him somewhere else. Interesting. Wonder what happened there.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? People jump fucking all over the place. Like, whatever.
Honestly, who cares about the individuals, though? It's 11:24 or die. They curb stomp the other Mayhem team at their little comp prep thing in Mayhem. Nobody wants to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. This is their year.
I love it.
This is their year. They're ready. They're locked in. I'm really excited for them. So we'll see.
I love it. Yeah, you know what? I'm going with them too.
How can you not?
CrossFit 1124 is going to win. Then I'm going to go, you know what? I don't even know. I don't even really know what teams are what teams except for 1124 this year. Fuck it. 1124 is going to win. That's all I'm going to say.
Let's go. I like it. Yeah. I'm not willing to. No.
The coaching staff, myself and the other coaches, had to talk with Tudor about throwing the towel in this year because of surgery. So we were like, all right, Tudor's not going to try to compete this year. He's getting surgery. Like, that's it. So my wife booked the trip.
Yeah, see, I'm convinced.
The kid fucking competes and wins everything. World Fitness Project, Open, Games. I'm like, man.
Yeah, you ever seen Rookie of the Year where the little kid breaks his arm and whatever, then he's pitching for the Yankees or the Cubs, whatever? Dude, this is Tudor. He's got a fucking bionic elbow. He can't not win.
I know. I love it. So I'm excited. I think he's going to do absolutely amazing. I think Tyler's going to do absolutely amazing. I'm excited for the entire Conquer crew that's going to be out there. If you guys see Ryan at the games, come say what's up to him. If you see Tyler at the games, make sure you tell him how sexy he is. Just make sure his wife's not around. Sorry, Callie. If you see Tudor at the game, give him a high five. And let us know if you guys want us to speak on anything else. And as always, check out the Coach RX Coaching Platform podcast. I got nothing else to say, Ryan. That's it. Later.
Shut it down. See you guys.